Every year, hospitals post thousands of openings they can't fill. And this is something I need you to hear. The problem probably isn't that you don't have a degree. Most of these jobs were never asking for one in the first place. And here's something wild. There are over 2.2 million healthcare job openings in the US right now, and fewer than 420,000 people are actively looking for these jobs. That's roughly a 5-to-1 gap between openings and job seekers. So today, I'm walking you through 7 healthcare jobs hospitals and clinics are struggling to fill, and none of them require a 4-year degree. Now, that does not mean that there's no training. Every single one of these still requires a certification, a license, or a structured training program. And I'm going to spell out exactly what's required for each one so you know precisely what you're signing up for before you look into it. And quick disclaimer before we get into the video. The pay ranges and hiring numbers I'm using today come from sources like the Bureau of Labor Statistics, Indeed, Glassdoor, ZipRecruiter, and hospital workforce reports from groups like Becker's and Lightcast. These are simply averages, not guarantees, and they shift depending on the market. What you actually earn and whether you get hired at all is going to depend on your experience, your location, the specific employer, and the time you put into training. This is not a job offer or a job placement service or a promise of employment or income of any kind. So take note of the ones that fit you and always confirm the current certification requirements and job listings directly with the employer or licensing board before you apply. And if you appreciate me creating content like this, then please hit that like button so YouTube will send this out to more job seekers. Number 1 on the list is medical laboratory scientist or medical lab technician. These are the people behind the scenes running the actual tests on blood, tissue, and other samples so doctors know what's going on with each patient. And hospitals need these results turned around fast. And right now, there just aren't enough people coming out of lab science training programs to keep up with how many current lab professionals are retiring or leaving the field. Most people don't even know this job exists because you never see these workers. They're not in the waiting room, they're in the back running machines and reading results, so it never shows up on anyone's radar when they think about healthcare careers. And I'll go ahead and put the current pay ranges on the screen so you can see where this typically lands. The technician track for this role does not require a 4-year degree. An associate's degree covers the medical lab technician title. There's also a medical lab scientist title that pays more but does require a bachelor's degree. So that's a trade-off worth knowing about, though it's not the focus of today's list. Either way, you do need training. The skills you'll need are attention to detail, comfort working with lab equipment, and in most states, passing a certification exam through a body like the ASCP before you're eligible to work in the field. I'll give this one a 7 out of 10. The demand is real and the work is stable, but you are looking at a real training program and a certification exam. This isn't something you walk into next week. So how do you get started? Well, if you're interested in this role, look at community college medical lab technician programs. Most of these run 1 to 2 years, and check if your state requires ASCP certification before you apply. Now, if working with samples and machines sounds a little too quiet for you, the next one on the list is a lot more hands-on, and it's one hospital executives say they can barely find enough people for. Number 2 is radiology and MRI technologists. This is the person who actually operates the imaging equipment, X-ray equipment, MRI, and CT equipment when a doctor needs to see what's going on inside your body. According to a recent survey of healthcare executives, a majority pointed to imaging techs, specifically radiology and ultrasound, as some of the hardest allied health positions to fill in the entire hospital. People assume this job requires years of med school, and it doesn't. It does not require a 4-year degree, and because it sounds so clinical, a lot of people rule themselves out before even looking into what it actually takes. And I'll put up some of the current pay ranges on the screen for you. What it does take is real training and licensing. The skills you'll need are completing an accredited radiologic technology program, passing a national license exam, and strong attention to safety protocols since you're working with radiation, and a solid bedside manner because you're dealing directly with patients, often on their worst days. I'd give this an 8 out of 10. It's in serious demand and pays well for the training required. The trade-off is the program itself and the physical demands of being on your feet all day. So how do you get started? Look for accredited radiology technology programs, typically an associate's degree, and check your state's licensing requirements since most require passing an ARRT exam. Next up is a job almost nobody outside a hospital has ever heard of, and it's one the nursing community brings up constantly when they talk about shortages. Real quick, I know job searching can feel like a full-time job on its own, especially when you're rewriting your resume for every single listing. Now, the tool I recommend to my audience for this is called Loop CV. You upload your resume once, pick the job title you want, and it applies to matching openings for you every day. And they've got a free plan to help you get started. I'll put a link below in the description and in the pinned comments for you. And that is Sterile Processing Technician. This is the person responsible for cleaning, packing, and sterilizing every surgical instrument before it goes anywhere near an operating room. Every single surgery in a hospital depends on this department. No sterile instruments means no surgery. And that makes this one of the roles hospitals absolutely cannot leave short-staffed. This job barely gets talked about because it happens entirely behind closed doors. People never connect the surgery they had with the person who made sure every tool on the tray was clean and ready. And this one doesn't require a 4-year degree either, but it does require a real certification. And I'll go ahead and pull up some of the current pay figures on the screen for you. Now, the skills you'll need are the ability to follow strict, detailed protocols exactly, comfort with repetitive precision work, and in most states, passing a sterile processing certification exam through a short training program before you can apply for open positions. And I'll give this a 7 out of 10. It's genuinely in demand and the training is short, but the pay ceiling is lower than some of the other roles on this list, unless you move into a more supervisory position. So how do you get started? We'll look into certification board for sterile processing and distribution programs. Most take a few months, and in some cases, hospitals will help cover certification costs for staff that they bring on, though that of course is going to vary by employer. Now, if you'd rather spend your day working directly with patients instead of behind the scenes with the instruments, the next job on the list is one of the fastest growing ways into a clinic. And if you're actually searching for a handful of these roles right now, you already know how much time gets eaten up just scrolling job boards and submitting the same application over and over. That's the exact problem Loop CV is built for. And no, this video is not sponsored by Loop CV. I just love recommending it to my audience. You upload your resume, choose the job title you're going for, and it applies to matching openings for you automatically every single day instead of you doing it by hand. And it will also run an AI check on your resume. And they even have a free plan to help you get started. I'll go ahead and put a link below in the description and in the pinned comments. Number 4 is medical assistant. This is the person doing a little bit of everything in a clinic, taking vitals, prepping patients, handling basic administrative work, and supporting the physician throughout the day. And demand for this role is growing much faster than average across most healthcare occupation projections. And clinics are opening faster than training programs can supply qualified assistants. People tend to lump this job into entry-level admin work and underestimate it. It's actually a real clinical role with real training. And like every job on this list, it doesn't require a 4-year degree. I'll go ahead and put up some of the current pay ranges on the screen for you. And like I mentioned before, that does not mean no training. The skills you'll need are completing a certificate program, usually under a year, strong organization skills, and comfort working directly with patients. Some states also require passing a certification exam before you can work in this role. I'll give this one an 8 out of 10 for the ease of getting started and a 5 out of 10 for long-term earning ceiling unless you use it as a stepping stone into nursing or another specialty. So how do you get started? Look for accredited medical assistant certification programs at community colleges. Most take somewhere between 9 months and a year, and some clinics do bring people on as trainees while they finish their certification. But of course, this is going to vary by employer. And speaking of stepping stones into the operating room, the next job on this list puts you closer to surgery than almost any other non-physician role. Number 5 is surgical technologist, sometimes called a scrub tech. This is the person in the operating room handing instruments to the surgeon and making sure the sterile field stays sterile during the procedure. Surgical volume keeps climbing, and this is a role that's consistently named as one of the operating room professions hospitals struggle hardest to keep staffed. And people confuse this with being a surgeon and assume it takes a decade of school. This one does not require a 4-year degree, and most people never look into it because they don't realize the actual path. And I'll go ahead and throw up some of the current pay ranges on the screen for you. And the skills you'll need for this role are the ability to stay calm and precise in a high-pressure environment. This is certainly not for everybody. Also, having a strong knowledge of the sterile procedure and completion of an accredited surgical technology program, which typically ends with a national certification exam. I'll give this a 7 out of 10, strong demand and interesting work. But the training is intensive and the hours can be unpredictable since you're on a surgical schedule, not a typical 9 to 5. So how do you get started? Look for CAAHEP accredited surgical technology programs. Most of these run 12 to 18 months. And some hospitals maintain relationships with local programs, which can make it easier to find openings after you finish and get certified. Now, the next role isn't in the operating room at all. It's the one making sure all the expensive equipment in that operating room actually works. And if you haven't uploaded your resume yet, make sure you do so now. This tool makes your job search a lot more manageable and efficient. I'll put a link below in the description and in the pinned comments. Number 6 is medical equipment repair, also called a biomedical equipment technician or a clinical engineer. This is the person who maintains and repairs everything from imaging machines to patient monitors. Hospitals are running more expensive, more specialized equipment than ever, and there simply aren't enough technicians trained to service it, which makes this one of the more specialized jobs on this list. This one almost never comes up in career conversations because it sounds more like an engineering job than a healthcare job, even though it's entirely embedded inside hospitals and clinics. And I'll throw up some of the current pay figures for you now. And the skills you'll need for this role are a background in electronics or biomedical equipment technology, usually through an associate's degree, being comfortable troubleshooting complex machinery under time pressure. I'll give this one an 8 out of 10. It's genuinely rare talent hospitals are looking for. The trade-off is you do need a real technical foundation to get in the door. So how do you get started? Look for biomedical equipment technology associate's degree programs. If you already have an electronics or military technical background, some employers do offer additional on-the-job training, though that's going to vary by employer. The next one on the list has the shortest training timeline of everything we've covered today, and it's one of the most consistently open positions in the country. I'm talking about certified nursing assistant or CNA. This is the person providing direct hands-on care in nursing homes and hospitals, helping patients with daily needs like bathing, eating, and mobility. This role has one of the highest turnover rates in all of healthcare because the work is physically demanding and emotionally heavy, which means facilities are constantly hiring. People see the turnover and assume that means the job isn't worth it, when really it means the opposite. There's consistent, immediate demand almost everywhere in the country. And yes, this one doesn't require a 4-year degree, and it doesn't require an associate's degree either. And I'll go ahead and throw up some of the current pay ranges on the screen for you. And the skills you'll need are patience, physical stamina, and completion of a state-approved CNA training, followed by a competency exam, which is usually a matter of weeks, not years. I'll give this a 9 out of 10 for how fast you can get started since the training is short and the demand is consistent, and a 4 out of 10 for long-term earning ceiling unless you use it as a stepping stone into nursing school. So how do you get started? Look for a state-approved CNA program through a community college, or even a hospital that offers free training in exchange for a work commitment. And in some cases, you can be certified in as little as 4 to 8 weeks. Now, if these roles seemed a little bit too crazy for you and maybe you're looking for something a little bit more laid back, then check out my video up here where I go over 5 boring online jobs that pay really well. Thank you so much for watching, everybody, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.